It's better than ever. Better than ever. What roller coaster am I referring to? It can only be the one, the only Dollywood's Lightning Ride Part 2. Hey, this is Russ Gillum, and welcome to my YouTube roller coaster channel. You know why? Because I got ice in my veins. Yeah, I like the fun roller coasters. Today, we're going to be talking about one of my favorite roller coasters of all time. One that I started riding several years ago when it opened. I've been there a couple times when it wasn't working, and you probably know what I'm talking about because you've already clicked on it anyway. So, we did get to ride it 3 times, and I'm just going to be totally honest with you. It was freaking awesome. I mean, it really was awesome. And Wheelgap has put a little comparison video out on YouTube, and he did a really good job. I know some of this was timing and some stuff, and the way it was kind of, one camera may have been up, and of course one was a little more stabilized, but I mean, excellent job of putting this together. So what I decided to do is to have a little fun, and I decided to see exactly where in the ride and how fast everything was going, and I'll tell you why I was wanting to do this. When I started riding this ride this time, and I'm going to kind of stop as we go, I really felt like when we were going down those hills that we gained more momentum than when it was faster. And my only complaint when it was faster was the fact is that you would get on that thing and you were thrown up. And I love ejector time, okay? But you were thrown up so high that you were just slammed back down and thrown back up and slammed back down. And I mean, it almost hurt sometimes, especially when it was really running fast. Now, do I miss the old days of going over that top at speed? Absolutely. Does it go over at speed now? Well, we can just kind of watch. And I'm going to kind of stop and start the video. But here we go. So here we go with the Lightning Ride with 2016 on the left, 2019 is on the right, 2021, on the right, 2016 on the left. Here we go. So we're going up that hill. Here we go to the Hornet's Nest, and boom. Well, first of all, like I said, it's kind of hard to tell. Really, 2016 is really going to get there a little bit quicker, but here we go. So we're going over. Boom. Okay, so we're getting some speed. Obviously, 2016 is really far ahead at this point. 2019 is just finally going over that hump. And the 2021 is way behind here. So here we go. Keep on going. And you'll see what I kind of did in a second. So here we go, going down that hill. Man, that drop felt great. You raise your hands up in the air. You feel like you're just floating to the ground almost. It's just wonderful feeling the cold air running through your toboggan. But it was just a wonderful, I think going maybe just a little slower again. I'm not trying to sound old, but going a little slower, you get a little bit more of that kind of free fall feeling. So I love that. Plus, I don't like being slammed into the roller coaster too much sometimes. And that's what happens even today, it's still, you're hitting pretty hard. But all right, so we go up. All right, so here comes this first hanging turn, overbank turn. And, again, when you did it before, it was great. It was something different. It was over before it began. I don't want to talk about it. But this time, because it was going just a little slower, you really felt like you were hanging. I mean, I was looking down. I was on the left side, looking down there, and I'm just thinking, oh my gosh. I mean, I almost felt like I was falling out. Again, you creak back, you get back going again. Here comes another overbank. Here we go again. I think I'm just going to follow the one on 2021. Again, look at you. You're hanging there like that, and you have enough time to enjoy it. Keep it on going. Here we go. Getting down to the bottom. Last overbank, going good. Here we go. So this is top. What I did here is this is going to be the where I kind of measured everything. Let me see if I can move this down. So you may get kind of got it out of the way. But anyway, you'll see top one right in here. This is what it says. It gives you the time. So this is the first top of the hill as we start going down. Because what I was wanting to do is, again, to see how fast we got to that point, of course, but I wanted to see how the momentum built as we went down. So you're going over that first turn really good on the 2016. 2019, a little slower, but you're going at a pretty good pace. And you'll see how much delay there is on all these. It's like you get to the top two, you haven't got to the one yet in 2021. So, and I'll talk a little bit more in just a second about how I felt as we were going through this. But, there's top three. I mean, you're flying. Again, wonderful feelings. Extended weightlessness. Man, instead of just being slammed down, okay, back into the chair and then back up again, it was a little more gradual. Although I will say this, in 2021, you hit that first one maybe going a little slower, but because you start coming down pretty quick, it sure does feel like you're kind of up there a little bit longer, but then it slams you good too. So if you want that slam down, pin you down type of feeling, you're going to get it. It's just a little more gentle, and I think a little bit more of the negative G's that I love. So here we go. Going down. Oh, listen, out of control feeling. I mean, you still get that out of control feeling. And that's what kind of just was crazy, because after I saw this video that Wheelgap did, I kept thinking, man, there is no way that could have felt that much. It felt as fast, as out of control as it used to, but enjoyed it more. And I know it sounds kind of weird. So, I decided to kind of measure all these times as well as I could. Like I said, sometimes it's not exactly apples to oranges, but sometimes it gets pretty close. So here's what I did. So here's our 2016, 2019. All right. So you'll see here what I did is we're going from the start to the end of top one. All right. And this is in seconds, so you can kind of see. So we got 28, 29, 31. I mean, the 2021 is definitely slower. I mean, definitely. So here we get to that top one. So obviously with the 2016, we got some pretty dang good momentum going. All right. But once we get from top one to top two, I mean, you'd still expect this number to be bigger than the 2019 number, right? 2021, I expect that, all right? But 2.07 versus 1.95, the only explanation, and give your theory too, the only explanation is when you're coming off that first hill, I think there's just more friction, because if you're going at high speed, those wheels are just really hitting and trying to bring it back down. So I think that momentum is just really causing a lot of friction, thus kind of slows it down by the time it gets to the top of the next hill. And then we go from the top of that hill to top three. Well, look again. Very interesting. Well, now all of a sudden the 2016 is almost like the 2019. Well, how do I account for that? Again, give me your theories. My theory is that, again, that first one in 2016, you hit that first hill, a lot of momentum, a lot of friction, comes down, kind of gets back on the track a little slower, hits that top number two hill, and doesn't go up quite as violently. Whereas, guess what the 2019 did? It ran through that first hill with less momentum, okay? Didn't go up so high, came back down, had a lot of momentum. Guess what happened from top two to the top three hill? Boom, it got friction also. I guess the best way to explain it's when you watch like ski racers, and when they hit those hills, they don't want to fly up in there too much. They're trying to stay as low and flat as close to the snow as possible. You just gain more speed. All right. So I did want to point this out. Check this out. So we got all this slowness kind of going, I guess you'd say. And then all of a sudden, look at this. Going from the top of the second hill to the top of the 3 hill, 1.5 seconds, which was almost like the 2016 and definitely faster than that 2019 version. So again, my guess is you hit those first hills, you're not going up so high, you're not getting as much friction on both those hills, and then boom, it's going. But guess what happens, my friends? We know a lot of friction, a lot of slowing down. Look what happens when we go from 3 to 4. Now we're at 1.7. We're back to third place once again. Again, it's really interesting. You'll see this, how it flip-flops. You go from top 3 to top 4. Guess what? 2019's back in the lead. Then from top 4 to the bottom. And I'm going to consider that bottom. This is what I consider the bottom is right. Let me kind of play it through again. Right there. Okay, effectively. If you look at 2021. So I'm calling that the bottom. And the end, I'm going to be considering right about there. Okay. And the reason is when I tried to do it elsewhere, it just didn't, it was harder to measure. So I kind of stopped it there. So for better or for worse, that's the way it worked out. So here we go. So we're looking back at our chart again, and we've got back from top 4 to the bottom again. Here's our momentum gaining back again, 2.2 seconds. Definitely a lot faster this time. And then again, this one's kind of still hanging back. So still a little slower. Then from the bottom to the end's pretty interesting. You'll see it's 5.03 seconds versus 4.46 seconds. And, that's a pretty good amount. So going from that bottom back to where it really slows down, boy, the 2019 version was really boogieing. And I'll show you something else in a second. But again, the 2021, again, it seemed to slow pretty good once it got there. Again, overall, is it probably going as fast? No. But again, I'm just telling you, I felt like there was a lot of momentum going here. And so I did this other thing, and I kind of did what percentage of the time they were at a certain point versus the total from the start at the top, not from the bottom, from the start at the top all the way to the end of the top of the number 1 hill, okay? And I was just kind of seeing if there's some momentum gaining here. So hang with me. So what I did is when we went from top 1 to the bottom in 2016, you'll see that 20.4, that's a percentage of the time was used during that portion. So in other words, the higher the percentage, the longer it was, okay? So obviously, if you look at 20 and then you look at 21, so 21% was time from top 1 to the bottom. I mean, obviously what that's telling us is there was more time of the overall time spent on that track from the start to the end. It was more time spent with the 2021, but not too much difference there. But let's go to the top 2. So I decided, really where that momentum kind of kicked in on the 2019, 2021 was on those last, the hills going from top 2 hill to the bottom. And you'll see, I was was interesting how this worked out, but you'll see, because I really thought that 2019 was going to go up. I mean, it would have been one of the lower ones. Interesting enough, you'll see that from the top 2 hill to the very bottom, there was about an equal amount of time spent going from there percentage-wise as with the 2016 to the 2021. And what does that tell us? I think it really tells us that, you got some momentum going there. Is there a difference from going from A to B, okay? Or let's say go from 1 to 10 Yes, but if you're already, but 1 to 10 is going to seem a lot more momentum going than if you already started at 3 and going to 10. So I think it just shows you how fast that section is on that on the 2021. Whereas again, I'm kind of surprised to see this. The 2019 have 15% of the time. So it definitely less time spent from the second hill to the bottom. Again, I'm just going to think it's when that second hill, it just really hit that friction, just really just slowed it up. But I think this is the most interesting thing. It's this bottom to the end. So in other words, when you get to the bottom and you do the little circle back up, back to where it breaks, 13.8% of the time of the total time in 2016 was spent on that. But look at the bottom. Look at 2019 and 2021. 10, 11% of the total time from the start, top of the hill, or top of the first big hill, all the way to the end, it was like 2 or 3 points more time was spent on that hill. So it's almost like it got to the bottom and slowed up more before it really, when it was making the turn, either on the old track, but 2019 was on the old track. So I don't know. I mean, the momentum must have really, when it got over that last maybe top 4 hill down to it must have really, really slowed up. Again, we can kind of go back and look at this, but you'll see from top 4 to the bottom, it was still the lowest number. And again, this kind of shows you again, it was definitely lower as far as time-wise than the 2019. So, listen, you may have to go back and just kind of look at this because I'm making it as confusing as possible. But it's just interesting how much more time percentage-wise was spent from the end, a break to the end, bottom to the end. Again, you got some comments. Tell me why. Kind of want to know. I need some engineers out there because I am no engineer. But again, I'm just going to say this about it. Besides that the bear, that is the coolest little thing. I didn't ride it. I'll tell you some more about Dollywood some other time and the poor management, I think, that goes on there sometimes as far as rides, especially during this COVID time. But I think 2021, I think it's awesome. I think it's much better than it ever has been. You get more airtime. You're not thrown around as much. But the best, and I still think going down those 4 hills, oh my gosh, those 4 bumps are the most amazing time, I think, 10 seconds you can have in life, okay? There's just nothing like the buildup of it. And every time I go into that bottom part, I swear, every time I always think something's wrong. And that's the great thing about that ride is you think something's wrong, but it's safe. But I think that the most surprising part is I so enjoyed those overbank turns. You were just able to enjoy them, and you could feel, instead of just pressing up against it with positive G's, you can feel yourself kind of coming down from the bank, and that was the most awesome part of it. But listen, give me your comments. Tell me what you think. This is my first video. It's going to be a little shaky. I'm not going to go record this 1,000 times to get it perfect. So, I hope to be a little better next time. But give me some comments. Subscribe if you can. I'm not going to do a bunch of graphics. I don't have time. I wish I could, but I just don't have time. But if you could subscribe and share it with people, sure would appreciate it. Listen, my next video it's going to be kind of a boring video, but I just wanted to give some of my thoughts on how Dollywood seems to handle crowds and when things aren't working or all the roller coasters or thrill rides are not working. So until next time, happy Easter, everyone. And I got ice in my veins.